Warm, friendly hellos. Welcome to the May 13th Filecoin Plus governance call taking place. Let's load the slides and take a look at what the agenda has in store for us today. So, this agenda is focused primarily on making sure that you have everything you need to know for the new updated form. This form will be for all existing allocators to update their information, as well as new pathways and organizations that wish to join the Phil Plus program as new allocators. So we're going to talk about it. What's in the form, how to apply, what are some FAQs to go through with that. So let's take a quick look and dive right into the call. As always, we post this agenda 2 weeks prior. If there's anything you want to see on this call, feel free to leave a comment and I'll add it to the discussion and make sure that we get you time on it. This call is taking place on May 13th. The next call is scheduled for May 27th. And in the slides, we have a list to the Google Calendar. So if you want to follow along and get this added, this is the best way that you could do so. Checking in on metrics before we jump into the agenda. Over the last 2 weeks, we saw 12 new clients served. And of the existing client pool and new clients, we saw 282 petabytes of DataCap distributed. So big period. Glad to see it. If you need any help, please let us know. And a big thank you to the 78 active pathways we have participating in the program. For this call right now, this is taking place at the same time as FDS Toronto. So 2 weeks ago, we had a virtual session with lots of presentations, lots of great content. And in this slide, you can see a link to all those recordings. They're all on YouTube. Right now, taking place in Toronto is more of a discussion base, real tactics about how we're doing the program, how we can grow it, and how we can best support it. So I've linked in a few workshops that I've seen float around in some of the public Slacks just for your awareness. And I'm sure there'll be more content to come after that SDS sessions wraps up today. All right. Hey, here's the meat of the call. Right now, on Friday, the new applications are going to be launching live. So what does that mean? Any existing allocator pathway submitted their application about a year and a half ago. And a lot of things change in that time frame. The clients that you're served, the organizational structure, how you're doing diligence and tranche schedules, and everything that goes in between it. And what we've noticed doing refresh and doing new onboarding is that an organization may have set up a plan a year ago and it's not current to market conditions. So what this new application is designed to do is capture how your organization is actually operating now. So we're asking all existing pathways to update this. It'll be a new round of KYC. It'll be verifying who's controlling your ledger, how you're distributing DataCap. This will also apply to new and returning organizations that wish to join the program. And so over the course of the next few minutes, we'll talk about what that looks like and get you any information you need or answer any questions you have going through it. So right off the bat, the reason why we need to do this is, like I said previously, a lot's changed in a year. For example, in 2024, we had a lot of organizations that joined saying, hey, we're building an automated pathway and we're going to have it live. And here, after a whole year, they may not have that automated pathway and they're doing all of their distributions on a manual review process, which makes that refresh audit really tricky to complete. And in order to help these organizations best serve their clients while still not getting blocked on DataCap Refresh, this is a great way for them to go through and articulate exactly what they're doing while they're going to be waiting to build that new product to come out. Also, we had a lot of organizations that submitted to become a manual application. And the guidance was we had 80 of them that were doing this same thing. So there was really no benefit to onboard these pathways without some clear way to measure how they're doing it relative to other pathways. So new pathways that wish to join and do open public data in a manual review process can now use this form to really specify what data they'll be pulling in, how they'll be doing the diligence on that data, and how they'll be verifying that that data, if it's public and open, is actually retrievable in Spark. So for new organizations that are wishing to join, this is also a good opportunity for you. So whether you've turned in an application and you've been waiting, or you're looking to get in, this is the time to do it. So if you are a new organization or pathway and you're looking to join the program, we're looking for diversity and we're looking for specificity. So if you say, hey, I'm going to be doing onboarding for open public data set, we'll be looking at that application now. And as a refresh, there are 5 levels that we're kind of prioritizing for this. Number one is any new RFA. So you might have applied to the experimental pathway, you've developed an automated or market system. Love that. It's top priority, and we want to get you on board to the program as quickly and effectively as possible. Number two is an existing high performing pathway. So if you're already an allocator and you've been distributing DataCap and you've been meeting your diligence standards, love it. We want to support you and keep that going. Number three, it's an application who's applied to join the program as a manual diligence. And we've asked you, please demonstrate your ability to either that you have clients or that you can work with additional pathways. So these are manual applications that have shepherded a client through. They've met high Spark retrievable rates. They've been able to keep their diligence standards high and demonstrate all. And then the fourth and fifth are new applicants. This is somebody who's joining the program, hasn't done anything before, but has been active in the community. This is a great way for you to start. And then fifth, these might be an organization for whatever reason, they did not meet their standards in their last application. They were not awarded a DataCap refresh, and they were encouraged to wait and reapply. So if you fit one of these 5 categories, this is the time for you to come back and submit this application. So what is the application process? Well, step one, on May 16th, we will be posting a new Airtable form. The reason why we're using Airtable is that we can capture information and share some of it publicly and keep some of it private. So you might not want your full name or your email address out in the ether of GitHub. So this is a great way that you can provide it to the governance team, provide it to the tooling, while still maintaining a sense of like, hey, this isn't out there in public. Once that Airtable form is submitted, it will generate a repository inside of our governance repo. A new issue is created, and it will post all of the public questions, like your organization, what type of pathway you're going to run, what your tranche schedule is. This way, it's all open and public. Once that new issue is created, a member of the governance team will go through, view it, provide any feedback, ask any clarifying questions, and kind of verify that, along with a KYC check. Anybody who has access to the ledger and will be speaking on behalf of this pathway must complete a KYC for the individual as well as the organization. And we use this to verify against sanctions checks as going forward. Once all of that is done, we will onboard your pathway. If you are a new organization coming on for the first time, we will award you 5 petabytes of DataCap, excuse me. If you're an existing allocator, you will keep all of the DataCap that you already have and just keep refreshing per your schedule. So what information are we looking for in the Airtable? Like I said, the Airtable is the same basic form that we used in 2024 and 2023, just updated to make sure that we're capturing this in a more finite way. One of the lessons learned on the last Airtable was a lot of the data was open, unstructured, long paragraphs, not really specific. When you see this new Airtable come out on Friday, it's a lot more structured data, like specifically check the box what your tranche schedule is, check the box what your Spark retrievability rate is, check the box on what type of allocator you're going to run. So this will allow us to have a lot more tooling and automation so that DataCap refresh process can be a lot simpler than reading over like a 10-page doc. Now it will just be metrics that we're checking against it. So a lot of the same basic information. Who are you? Where do you operate? And how will you operate is what's collected in the Airtable. What happens after that Airtable is submitted? So once you submit it and once it goes through, you as an allocator will then spell out, hey, this is my structure. This is how my pathway will work. We're going to collect all of that information and post it to the phil.org site. The goal of this is that a new client or someone coming to the ecosystem can now come to this website and see all of the available choices for allocator pathways, what region they operate in, what type of data they specialize in, what type of clients they've worked with in the past. Once you've done that and have it all set up, we verified your KYC, we can now set you up for compliance checks and audits and get that DataCap in your hands so you can help get that into the client's hands as it goes forward. So this is a key one as far as dates. May 16th, that allocator form will go live. Once that form is live, you'll have between May 16th and June 26th to complete and submit it. What's nice about this round versus rounds in the past is we're not going to hold all of them until the close and then score them and then go through, which means if you're an existing pathway and you submit on May 17th, we'll begin reviewing that, updating it, and get you all set up by May 18th, 19th. I'll be optimistic as I say that, realizing it's the weekend. But I guess the goal is you don't have to wait for it to close and then come back. We'll be able to give you constant updates as it goes through the program. We'll have an FAQ slide at the end of this, but the big dates to kind of keep in mind, May 16th, that application form goes live, and June 26th is the cutoff. Now, if you are an existing pathway and you do not update any of your information by June 26th, what we'll be doing is sunsetting the data cap that you have for this pathway. A lot of the purposes of this is to make the process little bit simpler for clients. So that way they're not discovering pathways that have outdated, antiquated, or unhelpful responses. And two, make sure that we're keeping this lively and rewarding folks that are contributing and being active, less just leaving a lot of organizations that might have moved on still lingering in the system. So May 16th to June 26th are the dates to be aware of. So if you are an existing pathway, make sure that you have all the individuals that will be monitoring your GitHub. You're not linked to just one. So a lot of pathways might have 3 or 4 administrators that can speak on behalf, that sign into the tooling, that can leave comments in Slack and GitHub. Make sure you've collected that and have it ready to go. Update on how your pathway will operate. In the last rounds in 2024, a lot of pathways said, we're just based everywhere in the world and we're supporting any data that comes through. We're looking for a lot more specificity. So if you are an existing pathway and you've only been supporting clients that are in one region, you should specify that in your application. If we see in your application that you're going to be supporting the whole world, but over the last year, you've only supported projects in Hong Kong or Korea or fill in the blank, we're going to be asking, why are you specifying the world when very clearly you have an operating here? So take a really good look. Also, what kind of Spark retrieval rates? How are you approaching CID sharing? How are you approaching VPNs? And this information will then be used to kind of come back and look at the diligence audits that come through Refresh. Now, what if you've already applied to become a manual pathway and you've been waiting for an opportunity to have that come forward? This is that opportunity. So in the past, we had 18 applications from new organizations to the program that wanted to receive 5 petabytes for DataCap onboarding. We held these until there was a need or until we had tooling ready that we could audit these. And simply that came down to bandwidth. With really limited resources on the governance and tooling team, it wasn't possible to onboard a limited number of manual pathways, all doing the same things, audit them, keep them accountable for diligence, then offboard them. So this is a way for new manual pathways to look at how we can come on board with really clear expectations on what the standards would be. So if you've previously submitted an application and it's been waiting in the governance repo for an action, you'll see a comment from me Friday with the link on how to apply. Go through, update that new form, and I'll link your new application to your old application. That way it's all in one place, and then we'll be looking at it. Again, if you've submitted a manual pathway application, the expectation is that you're already in the community, that you've been doing something that justifies your credentials and your ability to shepherd this program in a good way. If you were new, you would have seen a comment from me saying, hey, we haven't worked with you before. We highly recommend that you demonstrate your ability to meet retrievable data cap by shepherding a client through an existing pathway. So check your applications if they've been on file. You'll see a comment from me on Friday with that new link, and this is a good chance for you to apply and get that forward. So this will apply to everybody on this list. You would have seen a comment from me in the last 2 weeks letting you know to get ready for this. You'll see another comment from me coming this Friday with the application link. So again, if you've submitted an application under the old system, please take a look at this, and you'll need to submit on the new and merge those together as it goes forward. Now, manual applications that are looking to join the program, there are very strict requirements for it. We're not just onboarding anybody who wants to join. Again, we're looking that you should have been able to demonstrate that you're able to perform at least at the existing level of other pathways. So if you've shepherded a client through and you have 0% Spark retrieval, we can't find any bookkeeping diligence, this is going to be a reject. We're going to kind of hold you accountable for keeping the standards that the manual pathways have already. There's no point in onboarding a new, unproven organization that wasn't able to demonstrate their ability to bring a client through. So if you are applying as a new manual application, you should shepherd a client, if you have clients, through an existing allocator pathway as it goes forward. Now, lots of frequently asked questions that have already started to come through. I've collected all of these already, and I put them in this issue. It's discussion base 2360. And so under 360, it's everything we've talked about on this call, as well as all these FAQs. So I want to highlight some of these. I'm going to go slow and I'm going to check chat, because this way, if you have any questions, if it applies to your organization or a new one, this will kind of come through. So the first one was, hey, we were an allocator in rounds 4, 3, 2, 5, and we were removed either for inactivity or we didn't meet the diligence and we reapply. Yes. Number 2, you had a reject in round 5. So you're an organization, for whatever reason, you didn't meet the standards you set in your application. You've retooled, you've come back, can you reapply? Yes. You were accepted as an RFA in 2024, but you were told that manual pathways were not being onboarded. Are they being onboarded now? Yes. Can you submit for both a manual pathway as well as an experimental pathway? Yes. The caveat to this one is if you are submitting to onboard as a new allocator under this application form, you should be all set. You should have your bookkeeping set up. You should have your clients ready. You should have everything set up. If you don't, that's where the experimental pathway comes through. So this applies to organizations that submitted to become an automated or a market, but hadn't yet built their tooling, or they wanted a little bit more coaching and support. That's where the experimental allocator pathway will help you the most. If you submitted with an experimental pathway, can you still submit with this? So the answer is yes. There are organizations that are working on tooling for an automated pipeline, as well as bringing their clients through manually while they develop that. One of the questions was, is there a max number of allocators that will be brought onto the program? No, there is no max, but we are looking for quality over quantity, which means, again, if we're looking at an application from a manual pathway, we see Spark retrieval rates that are well below what other pathways are doing. That organization will not be onboarded. We're looking for quality organizations that wish to grow the program and bring clients through. And then lastly, are these applications scored like they were in rounds 4 and 5? No, we will not be using a scoring rubric. Any existing applications from existing pathways will be directly onboarded, provided that they still maintain the standards that they set forth. The new manual pathways will be held to the standards of what is an existing pathway doing, and is this new application meeting it? If not, we'll give you feedback. Hey, we noticed that you didn't meet XYZ criteria. We recommend that you kind of work with an existing allocator, look at how your pathway is running, and come back to us. I have a few more FAQs, but before I hit those, I'm going to check chat and make sure that I don't leave a question lingering for too long. So I'll go to the chat here. So first one I have is from Faye. Faye, friendly hello. Will the current refresh request under governance review have to wait for this KYC to finish or not affected? All right, Faye, no, you shouldn't have to wait. This will come up in a future FAQ as we go forward. And so the scenario is you were awarded 5 petabytes in 2024. You're in the process of distributing it, and now you have a DataCap refresh. Will that DataCap refresh go through? Yes. You will be held to the standards set up in your application of the last time. That shouldn't block. And Faye, at the end of this call, I'll come back and I'll take a look at yours and see where it stands on it. Good question, and let me know if I hit that and we'll come back. Irma, I see your question. Will the existing pathways refresh process be normal during the next month? So yes, to kind of clarify, yes, all the refresh will still continue just as normal. You'll be held to the same standards of your last application. Once you go through this new updated application, we'll use that as the standards for your refresh request when you receive new DataCap. So to kind of summarize both questions, refreshes will continue. and they'll be held to the applications that were filed in your list. All right, page 204, would they come through? Before I get to that, Irma, I see your next question. What's the meaning of direct allocation of data cap will be deprecated on June 1st, starting with the client's day? Irma, can you send me a link in chat? I see your date, but I'm not familiar with what that June 1st is. So if you send me a link, I'll jump into your question in chat. We'll get you set up. All right, hey, back to the slides, page 204, just kind of covering some of these FAQs for our conversation. So you're already running a pathway. Do you have to reapply? Yes, this is 100% yes. For any organization that's currently running a pathway, the reason why we need you to reapply is one, we have to verify sanctions checks every periodic time. This is a good way for you to annotate if there's been any changes to your board, your organization, or anybody controlling the ledger. So 100%, if you're running a pathway and want to remain active, yes, you do need to reply. Can you reapply with the same address? 100%. We highly encourage this. It's much more difficult on the back end to merge these together. So keep your same address, keep your same wallet, and we'll get you set up with that. If you miss this 6-week period, so you miss the June 26 period, and you resubmit it. We're transitioning to rolling. We talked about this a lot in round 5. We didn't have the tooling in a place where it was actually possible, but now we do. So super excited. So if you miss this June 26 period, if you're an existing pathway, what will happen is we'll set your address to inactive. We'll begin to sunset your data cap that was previously allocated to that pathway. You can always come back, fill out the new application, and we'll re-onboard that data cap. Same thing if you're applying to be a manual. If you don't have a client shepherded, if you don't have an application in by June 26th, you can then submit the form after it and we'll roll these in. Again, just specifying for new pathways that want to onboard as manual, we're looking at quality over quantity. So after that June 26th, if it's August and you apply and you haven't shepherded a client or you haven't demonstrated a metric that's at current levels of allocators, then we'll just say thank you. We'll hold until you can develop this pathway more than. And then the last question is, I anticipate running a huge pipeline, thousands of petabytes of data cap. How can I then go through it? So again, the same structure of data cap as round 5 will be in round 6, where everyone starts out with 5. They use that to demonstrate that they can meet the standards of retrievability, of CID, of all the metrics that we've talked about. And once you do that, you start to refresh, we'll just continue to double your size from 5 to 10 to 20, so forth. That way you can have the data cap to meet your client's needs. I'll pause again before I hit this next and I'll check chat. I'll see what's going on. Irma, it looks like you don't have a link. Maybe at the end of this update here, I'll dig into that. I'll get you set up. And then Faye, I see your DM. I'll take a look and I'll load that question too, and I'll deep dive into that and see what's going on with your refresh. All right, lastly is the third round of questions that we've already gotten on this. So you submitted an application for an automated pathway, but you've been doing manual distributions while you developed. This is for you. When you submit your updated application, you should be specific, maybe submitting 2, one for your automated pathway and one for your manual pathway. And this question right here, this is where a lot of the issues with refreshes come in. Organizations that onboarded as automated pathways, but haven't had any tooling, have been operating as manual. They're on the verge of being throttled or removed because they haven't met their standards. So if you are working on tooling, but you're doing manual process, this is highly recommended when you submit your updated form. You say, I'm going to be manual until I get my automated tooling, then I will resubmit. And you're already an active allocator that has X data cap. Does my data cap go away? Nope, it all rolls forward. So that means that if you're an existing pathway, you have 40 PIBs of data cap. When you update this form, you'll still have your 40 PIBs of data cap as it goes through. And then a question, can I have more than one pathway? You sure can. As long as you're meeting the standards of what goes forward on a manual pathway or an automated pathway, or you submitted an experimental, as long as you're keeping that, yes, you can go forward. And then again, we kind of covered this already. The refresh will still follow the same template. You will double as long as you're meeting your standards. You will be throttled or removed if you fail to meet the standards set in your application. In the last round, it's in round 5, the foundation created a multi-sig for me. Can we do that again? Yes, just with the caveat, it's very time consuming from a tracking and management standpoint. So if you do have the foundation create that for you, expect a little bit of a delay as we get that on board. You plan to eventually onboard. You're not ready yet, but you want to become an allocator in the future. Should you submit this form? No. This application form is when you're ready to onboard and go forward. So if you're still courting your clients, if you're still developing tooling, this is not the best for you. You should either file an experimental while you're working on your MVP for tooling, or you should wait until you have all that business processes set up for this new process. You've submitted an application already. Do you need to submit? Yes. So if you submitted previously, you're one of those 16 organizations. Yes, you will need to update all of that content here in this form. And then the last one that we've gotten on a few is like, hey, I want to verify retrieval with some other way than Spark. Spark is the primary mode of verification through the program and SP clients. So if you are submitting to the program, you should be Spark compliant. If not, we can direct you to some of the Spark channels, work with the Spark team. They're very responsive on tooling questions, on automation questions. So Spark will remain the standard as we go forward. Pause and take a look at what we have here in the questions. All right. So in summary, here are the key points that I hope you take away. Again, we're just kind of covering these on a spoken basis. We have them in discussion. Number one key point is the application goes live for all existing allocators to refresh their information and all new organizations wishing to join on May 16th. If you don't have a pathway lined out yet and you're working on it, experimental pathway is a great way for you to apply, get feedback, and develop your tool. The Airtable form will be how you submit all your information for your organization. You'll then be provided with KYC verification, sanctions checks, we'll verify all that. Once that's created, there will be an issue open in the governance repository. We'll share all this information with you in that issue, and then you'll be on board. If you have questions, Fill Plus in the public Slack is great for new allocators that are wishing to join. There's also Fill Plus allocators. It's a private channel only for existing allocators. And this is better if you're an existing pathway and you have specific questions. Feel free to use both, but this is a great way for you to come and ask anything as we go. So I'll pause here. I'll take a look at the chat, and then we'll dive into any DataCap refreshes that we have. All right, Irma, I see your question. Spark does not show the retrieval rate. Have the issue with IPNI. How should we do that? That is a great question. And what I will do is I will bubble this up to Will and some of the folks that are tracking IPNI. On the last call, we had an update on this, and I will find out if that's been retrieved and set up for you. And I'll provide an update in the Fill Plus in the link that we have here. So Irma, I'm going to get back to you on that IPNI question and make sure you have it. And let me see, ND Labs. All right, you screen shared this. Let me stop the recording here and I'll share what you shared. So I'm sharing from ND Labs Leo. This was the question that came through in chat. So direct allocation of DataCap will be deprecated in 20 days. That's June 1st, starting the client smart contract today. Let me look into this. I haven't seen where that June 1st date comes from. And so rather than shooting from the hip, I will go right to the source and I'll find out what's happening with that or any direct action. Thanks for making me aware, and I'll post in the Fill Plus channel once we have an answer on what specifically this is applying to. All right, DataCap refresh. Again, it will still remain constant through June 26th through your old applications. Right now, we have 3 refreshes that were just approved for disbursement: ZZ Fill, eHume, IPFS Force. We have 2 that are awaiting for Watchdog. These came through very recently. This is the PhilScan team and Genesis. And we have 6 that are currently in governance reviews. This is Marshall, Venus, Storify, EM, KFDA, and Corn Summer Labs. Again, the goal of this is to get to 5-day turnaround. That's the goal. So once you submit a refresh request, it goes through Watchdog comment. You have an ability to leave any input, and then it goes for that audit, all within that 5-day term. And then again, DataCap will continue during this application process. Once your new application has been submitted and filed and you receive new top-offs, you'll be held to the standard of your new application going. And last, if you're a new organization, you've heard us talk about this application process for pathways that are set up. As a friendly reminder, we solicited an RFA, request for allocators, and we had 21 organizations respond, looking to build tooling and onboard to the program. All of these organizations had not yet built their tooling, so it was unable to onboard and give them data and hold them to a standard. So what we did was we developed what we call the experimental pathway. We've talked about this on the past 2 calls. Feel free to reach out in Slack if you have any kind of clarifying questions. And the point of this is that you can get a little bit of data cap, 1 petabyte, as you're testing your tooling to make sure that it works, that your hypothesis stand, that you can verify that. So rather than being onboarded for a complete program with refresh and audit, this gives an organization 1 petabyte to verify that their MVP is operational and working. So if you're developing tooling, the experimental pathway is the perfect fit for you. To apply, you can click on this link that you see in the slides. You might have seen some past chatter in the Phil Plus Slack. There's also a very good explainer video. It's 5 minutes on what the pathway is, how to apply them. So with that, I'll come back to chat and we'll dive into any kind of specifics that might be issuing and going forward. So I'll come back to chat and see if there's anything new. All right, Faye, I see your question. I'm going to pull up your application and we'll take a look at where that stands and get you routed to the right place. This is for current logic. You just kind of get my bearings. All right. So current, this looks like you're in the same boat that I talked about, where it was a pathway that ran automated and trying to verify that automation with the data cap that's already gone out. I will ping Amin, who is our new audit coordinator with the foundation, and I'll give him a friendly bump and I'll have him echo on this thread on any information he needs for it. Then hopefully we'll get this closed out for you this week. But I think that you've fallen in this 3-week delay. Apologies for that. Just because when the application was filed, it was for automated and just making sure that those audit checks. So this is 343. And Faye, I'll get you movement on that. I'll ping him right after this call and I'll have him update that issue for you and at least get you some information as you go forward.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, thank you. And Irma, I owe you updates on the direct data cap date of June 21st, or excuse me, June 1st. What happens with that and why we're seeing that. So I'll echo back on that thread. And Irma, I also owe you an update on the IPNI. So I'll figure out what's going on with that and I'll get a post here in the thread that goes forward on that. Thanks for flagging those 2 questions. I'll pause. I talked a lot. I'm almost losing my voice here. Sorry about that. Lots to get through, and you're going to see a lot more information written. So I'll pause. And again, if there's anything else on your radar, any questions, please, here to help. All right, too wonderful. Then what I'll do is that's it. I'll stay on the line for a few moments. I'll stop the screen share. I'll pause the recording. If anything comes up, let us know. Otherwise, as a reminder, May 16th, the new application form will be live in Airtable. All existing pathways should complete it. All new applications that are looking to onboard a ready pathway are encouraged to apply under that system as well. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I'll post this to YouTube shortly. All the best, everyone. Cheers.